What if I told you that while everyone is fighting over overpriced condos in Miami and generic stucco boxes in Orlando, the actual deals in Florida are hiding right in plain sight? Yes, Florida, the state where everyone assumes you need $500,000 just to get a decent roof over your head and an insurance policy that doesn't make you want to cry. But we are pulling back the curtain today. While the out-of-staters are getting taken for a ride in the trendy zip codes, we've found properties that completely break the current market rules. Today, we're looking at 10 real properties across the Sunshine State. We're starting at an unbelievable $40,000 and working our way up to $215,000. Some of these are wild budget survival plays, some are deep in the rural woods, and some are just genuinely good houses that the algorithm somehow forgot to inflate. By the time we finish this list, you might just rethink your entire Florida strategy. Let's get into it. Number 10. North Fort Myers. We're kicking things off with a number that usually only buys you a parking spot in Miami, $40,000. 357 Eland Drive. Let's have a completely honest conversation about what this is. It's a mobile home. 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, somewhere around 900 square feet of breathable living space. The annual property tax is so low it looks like a typo, usually sitting under $400 a year for something like this. You are minutes away from the Caloosahatchee River and a short drive to actual Gulf Coast beaches. You get the palm trees, you get the ocean breeze, and you get it for the price of a mid-sized sedan. But let's talk about the reality check. This is North Fort Myers, and you are sitting squarely in a hurricane zone. Buying a $40,000 mobile home near the Gulf Coast means you're making a conscious wager with Mother Nature every single September. When the Weather Channel starts using words like Category 4, you don't stay here. You pack your car and you drive north. That's just the tax you pay for cheap coastal living. Also, in mobile home communities like this, you need to factor in monthly lot rent, which covers your amenities, trash, and lawn care. It's not totally free living, but it's still significantly cheaper than a $3,000 a month apartment. North Fort Myers itself is a community of about 40,000 people. It's essentially the quieter, more affordable sibling to Fort Myers proper across the river. The median home price here hovers around $280,000, so at $40,000, you're entering the market at the absolute basement floor. Median household income is around $50,000 a year, and the cost of living sits right around the national average. Healthcare access is solid, with Lee Memorial Hospital just over the bridge, and Southwest Florida International Airport is only 30 minutes away for when you need to escape the humidity. Crime rates here are a mixed bag. Property crime is a bit higher than you'd want, so lock your doors and get a Ring camera. This isn't a luxury estate. This is a strategic play. It's a snowbird retreat, a minimalist coastal base camp, or a cash-flowing rental for someone who knows how to manage it. $40,000 to live where other people vacation. You just have to be willing to watch the radar. We just talked about the Gulf Coast, but what if you're strictly an Atlantic Ocean kind of person? What if you want East Coast sunrises, but your budget is currently screaming at you to be realistic? Enter 2 Rio del Indio Drive. 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, roughly 1,000 square feet, listed at a flat $40,000. Your annual property tax on a manufactured home like this usually sits under $500, less than what most people spend on coffee in a single month. Let's not pretend this is a luxury waterfront estate. It's a 1970s mobile home in a park, but the layout is functional. It has 2 full bathrooms, and it completely bypasses the traditional real estate trap. Just like our last stop, you have to factor in the monthly lot rent. But in exchange, you get access to a community lifestyle, and you aren't tied down to a 30-year mortgage that keeps you awake at night. You are buying a coastal launch pad, not a brick fortress. The location is the actual selling point here. Edgewater, Florida, tucked right along the Indian River, just south of New Smyrna Beach in Daytona, is a town of about 23,000 people that feels like old-school, unpretentious Florida. You aren't surrounded by high-rise condos or tourists paying $20 for a cocktail. This is boating, fishing, and kayaking territory. It's the kind of place where locals know the tides better than the TV schedule. The numbers in Edgewater make this deal even more compelling. The median home price here sits around $286,000, so at 40 grand, you are completely dodging the local market premium. Median household income is around $55,000 a year, and the overall cost of living is right at the national average. You're right near I-95, so getting around the state is simple. Advent Health in New Smyrna handles your immediate medical needs, and Daytona Beach International Airport is roughly a 30-minute drive straight up the highway. Crime here is relatively low compared to the major cities. It's mostly a quiet, retiree-heavy waterfront town. Is it for everyone? No. You're still on the Florida coast, which means hurricane season requires an actual evacuation plan, not just crossed fingers. And living in a mobile home park means following community rules. But if you want to spend your retirement or your winters fishing on a mosquito lagoon and driving to the beach without emptying your bank account, this is exactly how you hack the system. $40,000 for East Coast living. The Atlantic Ocean doesn't care how much your house costs.
If you want to survive the Florida real estate market without a trust fund, sometimes you have to turn your back to the ocean and head into the woods. Welcome to the deep Panhandle. 20994 Southeast Martin Luther King Avenue. 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, a sprawling 1,442 square feet of actual house, listed at $70,000. That is under $50 a square foot. You cannot buy the lumber to build this house for $70,000, let alone the land underneath it. Annual property taxes here will likely run you less than $800 a year. Let that sink in. This isn't a mobile home, and it's not a cramped tiny house. It's a 1981 ranch-style build, sitting on a solid foundation. Sure, it needs some vision and a few trips to Home Depot, but it has a front porch, a back deck, and enough yard to actually stretch out. It's the kind of property where you can park a truck, build a fire pit, and not have a homeowners association breathing down your neck because your grass is half an inch too tall. But to understand the price, you have to understand the location. Blountstown, Florida. Population just over 3,100. This is Calhoun County, completely landlocked in the Panhandle and proudly unpretentious. You won't find tourists here. You won't find valet parking or $8 lattes. This is agricultural, heavily forested old Florida, where the Apalachicola River is the main attraction, and the nearest beach is an hour away in Mexico Beach or Port St. Joe. The economic reality of Blountstown is exactly why this deal exists. The median home value here is around $158,000, which means even in a cheap town, this $70,000 listing is an absolute steal. Median household income sits at about $51,000 a year. Rent is cheap, but homeownership is the norm here. About 66% of residents own their homes. The cost of living is noticeably lower than the rest of the state. Calhoun Liberty Hospital handles local medical needs, and if you need major city infrastructure, Tallahassee is about an hour to the east, while PanamaCity is an hour to the southwest. Property crime and violent crime are both exceptionally low, because in a town of 3,000 people, everybody knows whose truck belongs in whose driveway. This isn't the Florida you see on postcards. It's quiet, it's rural, and it moves at its own stubborn pace. But if your goal is to buy a legitimate 3-bedroom house for the price of a luxury SUV and just be left alone, Blountstown is waiting. If you've been surfing Zillow for long enough, you know the drill. If you find a house under $100,000 in a major Florida city, it's usually either an empty patch of dirt or a structure that requires a hazmat suit to enter. Enter 299 E 48th Street. 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, 792 square feet, or nearly a quarter of an acre, listed for $74,900. No, that's not a typo, and no, it's not half a duplex. It is a fully detached, single-family home. Annual property taxes sit around $2,490, a bit higher than our rural stops, but this is the price of any city infrastructure. The listing itself is fascinating. Built in 1938, it actually boasts modern finishes inside, granite countertops, luxury vinyl plank flooring, and an upgraded bathroom. But here's the real estate catchphrase that separates the tourist from the investors.
Sold as is. That means what you see is what you get, and the seller isn't fixing a single squeaky floorboard for you. But you're getting almost a quarter of an acre in a major metropolitan area. Fence the yard, let the dog run, and forget about HOA fees forever. The location is the real conversation here. Jacksonville is the largest city by landmass in the contiguous United States. It is a massive, sprawling economic engine driven by logistics, finance, and a massive military presence at Naval Air Station Jacksonville. You have world-class healthcare with the Mayo Clinic right in town, an international airport, and the Atlantic beaches sitting just 30 minutes to the east. Let's look at the hard numbers. The median home price in Jacksonville hovers around $300,000. So at $74,900, you are buying at exactly 1/4 of the local median. Median household income is roughly $60,000 a year. But let's talk about the neighborhood. This sits in the 32208 zip code on the city's north side. Let's be completely transparent. This is an urban, working-class neighborhood, and the crime rates in this specific area run higher than the national average. You don't leave your lawnmower out overnight here. This isn't a property for someone who wants a pristine, gated community where everyone drives matching golf carts. This is an entry-level starter home, a cash-flowing rental play, or a strategic urban hold. It requires street smarts and realistic expectations. But getting a detached home with granite countertops in a booming Florida city for $75,000? That's an opportunity that usually doesn't make it past the investor group chance.
What happens when you want an old-school Florida project and you literally do not care about traffic noise? You buy a house right on the highway. I mean, literally on the highway. Welcome to 541 US Highway 90 East. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, a very spacious 1,630 square feet, and a price tag of exactly $100,000. Annual property taxes here will run you somewhere around $1,200 a year. Now, let's be completely transparent about what you are actually walking into. Built in 1949, this property is basically a blank canvas. The listing excitedly notes that it's ready to be built to your taste, which in honest real estate language means you are buying a shell. You will be rolling up your sleeves, pulling permits, and spending real money to make this livable. But here's the unexpected bonus. The seller already paid $5,000 for professional architectural plans, and they transferred directly to the buyer. You aren't just buying a cheap house, you are buying a head start on a major project. The property sits on a massive lot and includes a detached one-car garage. But we have to address the elephant in the front yard. You are on US Highway 90. You will hear trucks. You will see headlights sweeping past your living room. This is not a quiet suburban cul-de-sac where children ride tricycles in the street. But for a very specific type of buyer, maybe a contractor, an entrepreneur, or someone who wants to run a home-based business, highway frontage isn't a nuisance. It's free advertising. No HOA, no restrictive subdivision rules, just you, your land, and the open road. Let's look at Baldwin itself. Located just 20 miles west of downtown Jacksonville, Baldwin is a small town of about 1,500 people. It is historically a railroad and logistics hub, the literal crossroads where major highways and the CSX rail lines intersect. It's blue-collar, hardworking, and completely immune to the overpriced tourist traps of the Florida coast. You have the Jacksonville-Baldwin Rail Trail for weekend recreation, and when you need serious shopping, major hospitals, or an international airport, Jacksonville is a straight 20-minute shot down Interstate 10. The financial math is what makes this highway house so interesting. The median home price in Baldwin is currently hovering around $290,000. You are buying in at $100,000. Even if you sink $80,000 to $100,000 into a full gut renovation using those free blueprints, you are still sitting well below the local market median. Median household income is around $50,000 a year, and the cost of living is comfortably low. Living right on a major U.S. highway isn't for the faint of heart, but with a massive lot, a detached garage, and a $100,000 price tag, this isn't just a fixer-upper, it's a strategic investment. Just make sure to budget for some high-quality double-pane windows.
We are officially hitting the $100,000 mark and heading straight to the Florida Panhandle. If you want a real, detached single-family home in a true coastal city for under 6 figures, this is exactly where you look. Welcome to 1103 Medford Avenue. 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, 864 square feet, listed right at $100,000. Annual property taxes here will run you somewhere around $1,000 a year, which is a rounding error compared to what people pay down in Miami or Tampa. Let's be clear, this isn't a mobile home and it's not an empty lot on a noisy highway. It's a 1958 traditional frame house sitting on a 0.19-acre lot. The interior features tile floors, some solid updates in the kitchen and bathroom, and a metal roof that Florida insurance companies actually love. Is it small? Yes, at 864 square feet, you aren't hosting massive indoor dinner parties, but the layout is fully functional and the yard gives you plenty of room to breathe. Now, let's talk about the location, because Pensacola is arguably one of the most underrated real estate markets in the Southeast. Sitting at the far western edge of the Panhandle, Pensacola is a major military and historic hub. It is home to Naval Air Station Pensacola, which guarantees a constant influx of military families, government contractors, and a highly stable local economy. You get historic downtown charm, an international airport, and most importantly, access to some of the absolute best white sand beaches on the entire Gulf Coast. The financial data here is exactly why investors quietly love this area. The median home price in Pensacola currently hovers around $280,000 to $300,000 depending on the zip code. You are walking into a 3-bedroom house for exactly a third of the local median. Median household income is roughly $55,000 a year. Because of the military presence and the massive hospital systems, the long-term rental market here is incredibly robust. The catch? This property sits in the 32505 zip code. It's an older, working-class neighborhood. Like many older parts of Pensacola, crime rates, specifically property crime, can be elevated depending on which street you are on. You do your homework, you talk to the neighbors, and you understand the block before you sign the papers. But if you are a first-time homebuyer tired of renting, or an investor looking for a reliable cash flow property near a military base, 1103 Medford Avenue is a textbook play. $100,000 for a 3-bedroom house near the Gulf of Mexico. The Panhandle discount is real, and this is the proof.
If you've been watching this list thinking, I don't want a highway, I don't want a mobile home park, I just want a massive house in the woods where nobody bothers me, we have arrived at your destination. Welcome to 13132 Temper Crest Road. 3 bedrooms, 3 full bathrooms, a massive 2,266 square feet of living space, and it sits on a fully fenced 1-acre lot. The price? Exactly $200,000. Annual property taxes here will run you right around $2,020. At 2,266 square feet, you are paying just $88 a square foot. In modern real estate, that is basically an accounting error. But the property itself is what actually sells this deal. It is a genuine log cabin-style home built in 1973, sitting under massive, beautiful Florida oak trees. Inside, you get warm wood tones, rustic charm, and an open living layout that genuinely feels like a retreat rather than just a house. Oh, and the living room comes with a projector mounted to the ceiling for movie and sports nights. You are getting a country sanctuary with a built-in home theater for the price of a studio apartment in Miami. But let's talk about where you actually are, because the location is the entire point. Fountain, Florida, sitting in northern Bay County, perfectly wedged between Highway 20 and Interstate 10. You are about 40 minutes straight north of Panama City and the Gulf beaches. Fountain is unincorporated, highly rural, and fiercely private. There is no nightlife here. There is no trendy coffee shop. This is deep woods territory where people ride ATVs, hunt, and actually know how to use a chainsaw. The numbers in Fountain are fascinating because of the isolation. The median home price in Bay County is currently sitting around $330,000. Finding a home this large on a full acre for $200,000 is a statistical outlier. Median household income up here is around $45,000 to $50,000, reflecting the rural, agricultural nature of the area. Healthcare and major shopping mean a drive down to Lynn Haven or Panama City. And crime? In a community like this, your nearest neighbor is a quarter-mile away, and they probably own a tractor and a shotgun. It is exceptionally quiet. This property is not for someone who needs Uber Eats to deliver at 2 a.m. This is for the buyer who wants space, silence, and the freedom to let their dog run off leash. It's rural Florida living at its absolute finest.
2,200 square feet, a log cabin, and an acre of land for $200,000. Let the introverts rejoice.
We are back on the Gulf Coast, and this property tells a story that is quintessentially Florida. If you want a beautiful, move-in-ready home near the water for exactly $200,000, you sometimes have to look at towns that know how to take a punch. Welcome to 712 College Avenue. 2 bedrooms, 1.5 baths, 1,080 square feet. The annual property tax sits right around $2,900. Built way back in 1930, this house is a literal survivor. But if you read the listing, you'll see it was completely renovated in 2020. That timeline is not a coincidence. In October 2018, Category 5 Hurricane Michael made a direct, catastrophic hit on Panama City, fundamentally changing the landscape and the local housing market forever. This house took the hit and came back stronger. Inside, it doesn't look anywhere near 96 years old. You get continuous luxury vinyl plank flooring, an open-concept kitchen with stainless steel appliances, and a smart Jack and Jill bathroom setup. There's even a bonus room you can use as a home office, a newly fenced backyard for the dog, and a covered front porch where you can sit and enjoy the fact that you have 0 HOA fees. Plus, the surrounding streets are lined with mature trees, giving you that established neighborhood feel that sterile new-build communities simply cannot fake. Now, let's talk about the location. To be clear, this is Panama City, not Panama City Beach. You are on the mainland. The neon lights and spring break chaos are across the Hathaway Bridge, which means you get the coastal benefits and the ocean breeze without the tourist headaches. Tyndall Air Force Base is the massive economic anchor here. Following Hurricane Michael, the federal government has been pouring billions of dollars into rebuilding Tyndall into a base of the future. That guarantees a massive long-term influx of contractors, military personnel, and extreme economic stability. The financial numbers make this a highly strategic play. The median home price in Panama City is currently sitting right around $315,000. So at $200,000 for a fully updated home, you are buying significantly below the market average. Median household income is about $55,000 a year. You have Ascension Sacred Heart Bay Hospital right in town, and the Northwest Florida Beaches International Airport is an easy drive away. The catch? Hurricane risk is the permanent elephant in the room. Your homeowner's insurance premium is going to reflect that coastal reality. But if you want a freshly renovated interior, 0 HOA drama, and a city backed by billions in military investment, this listing is proof that sometimes the best real estate deals are the ones that had to be rebuilt from the ground up. Before we hit our grand finale, we are taking a strategic detour. Every other property on this list has been about affordable, personal living. But what if you are looking for a pure, cash-flowing investment? We are temporarily stepping up the budget to $270,000 for a very specific reason. Welcome to 1118 NW 10th Avenue. 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, 1,031 square feet. The annual property tax here is a bit steeper, sitting right around $4,055. Let's talk about the house itself. This isn't a rural cabin or a coastal mobile home. It's a beautifully maintained, classic 1938 bungalow sitting on a 0.21-acre lot. Inside, you get real hardwood floors running through most of the space, a clean tile layout in the kitchen, and French doors that open up to a very spacious, privately fenced backyard with a large wooden deck. It even has a detached storage shed with power. It has authentic historic charm, solid bones, and it's completely move-in ready. But the interior design, as nice as it is, isn't the primary reason you buy this house. You buy this house because of what sits exactly 10 blocks away, the University of Florida. Gainesville is the absolute definition of a massive, recession-resistant college town. UF has over 50,000 active students, plus thousands of faculty, staff, and medical professionals working at UF Health Shands Hospital. The demand for housing near campus is virtually endless. This property is literally within walking or biking distance to the university. You don't even need a car to get to class or the stadium on game days. Let's look at the local data. Gainesville sits in Alachua County, right in the center of North Florida. It's an intellectual and cultural hub wrapped in a canopy of Spanish moss. The median home price here is hovering just under $300,000. So at $270,000, you are securing a detached, single-family home with a sizable yard right in the heart of the most desirable rental zone. And you're doing it below the market average.
Crime in college neighborhoods often leans toward petty theft, bicycles, and packages, so installing a Ring camera and motion lights is just standard operating procedure here. If you buy a house in a random suburb, you are hoping the market goes up. If you buy a historic bungalow 10 blocks from the University of Florida, you are buying guaranteed year-over-year tenant demand. Parents will happily co-sign a lease, or young professors will rent it for the quiet, historic neighborhood vibe. This isn't about escaping to the woods or retiring by the beach. This is a cold, hard, incredibly smart math equation. $270,000 for prime university real estate. Let the college kids pay off your mortgage.
We've looked at coastal hurricane zones, deep woods, highway projects, and historic college bungalows. But for our grand finale, we are answering the most important question of all. What if you have a solid budget of $215,000 and you just want a normal, modern, move-in ready house near the water without spending your weekends at Home Depot? Welcome to 604 Satsuma Avenue. 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, 1,102 square feet, listed right at $215,000. And the current annual property tax on the listing? $273. Yes, you heard that correctly. Even if that adjusts slightly after the sale, it is a staggering number to see in modern Florida. Let's talk about why this is the perfect finale. This house was built in 2022. You aren't buying a 1970s time capsule or a contractor's abandoned dream. It is a modern craftsman-style home with continuous luxury vinyl plank flooring, central air, and a clean, highly functional layout. It gives you all the benefits of new construction, efficiency, modern electrical, updated plumbing, without having to wait 14 months for a builder to actually finish it. You literally just unlock the door and put your couch down. The location is what makes this a true Florida hack. We are back on the mainland in Panama City, specifically the Old Orchard neighborhood. You are just minutes away from Watson Bayou, meaning you get easy access to the water, and you are a short drive from the historic downtown, which is currently undergoing massive revitalization. New restaurants, new businesses, and serious infrastructure money are pouring into this exact area. But here is the absolute best part about this specific listing, the zoning. There are no restrictive HOAs telling you what color you can paint your mailbox, and short-term rentals are legally allowed here. That is a massive detail. You can live it full-time, use it as a winter retreat, or put it on Airbnb when you aren't around. The flexibility is entirely yours. Let's do the final math. The median home price in Panama City is around $315,000. You are buying a 2022 build near the water with short-term rental potential for exactly $100,000 under the local median. Florida real estate has a reputation for being overpriced, overcrowded, and entirely out of reach for the average person. But as we've seen today, from 40,000 mobile homes to $215,000 modern builds, the deals are still out there. You just have to stop looking where everyone else is looking. Looks like you did your homework. Subscribe for more.